Wednesday, May 12, 2026. We'll call the Common Council meeting to order. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Morgan.
Here.
Romano.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Appleton is absent. Ellis is absent.
We're going to be on the minutes from our last meeting on April 28th. The only change, or the only correction I saw was Youth Council, Kira's name has 2 R's instead of 1. Besides that, were there any other changes or corrections? Do I have a motion to approve with the noted change? Motion by Tad, second by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. We will open up the floor to any public comments. Okay, then we'll close the public comment period. Next up, I'm excited to recognize Dave Herron for his 50 years of service. Do you want to come on up? Come on up, friend. I got something. Okay. Okay, I got a proclamation for you. You ready? Yeah. Okay. So whereas Dave Herron joined the fire service in Union Township, Indiana, and served the township for a year, and his marriage to Deborah, they moved to Columbia City in 1976. 1975, what changed that. And Dave was sought out by a member of the Columbia City Fire Department and was voted onto the department in April of 1976. I think that was it. Okay. And whereas through the years, Dave has served the department in multiple capacities, such as firefighter, captain, second assistant chief, and your current role as safety officer. Not only is Dave an active member through his tenure here, but he's consistently in the top 5 for yearly run totals. Really don't have that. And whereas Dave has been and continues to be a great example of servant leadership, volunteer firefighting is the foundational backbone of the fire service, and Dave exemplifies that in every way. His service goes beyond just firefighting, as Dave has used his unique abilities outside of the fire service over the years to assist in any way possible. And whereas the Columbia City Fire Department was founded in 1877, making next year the 150th year of service to the public, Dave's tenure is 1/3 the age of the department. The city owes Dave and his family a debt of gratitude for his selfless service. So now, therefore, I, Ryan O'Daniel, as mayor of the city of Columbia City, do hereby proclaim May 12, 2026 as Dave Herron Day in the city of Columbia City, and encourage all residents of Columbia City to join us in honoring the impact Dave Herron has left on our community over the years. His dedication and service to Columbia City has certainly been felt by both his colleagues and the residents of Columbia City and beyond. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. I know the chief and deputy chief wanted to be here. Thank you, guys. Okay. Next up is the BS&A presentation. Come on up. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Parker normally does a slide presentation, but for time's sake tonight, he said he's going to cut out for 20 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, I really appreciate you having me here today. My name is Parker Bright. I work for BS&A Software / Voice Systems, and I'm mostly here to answer questions, but I did want to take a minute or two to talk about the importance of this move to your city. You guys have been Keystone customers for 30, close to 40 years, and it's been a great product for you guys. And now it is the time to make a switch. And this product will be the product that hopefully you will use over the next 20 to 30 years in this investment. And really with the wave of migrations right now, we have seen a ton of our customers move this route, not only because of the financial incentive, but there's security, there's compliance, there's the ability to open this up and truly decentralize a lot of the work out of Leslie's office, and truly be one system for the entire city. Like I said, I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have them. I know you guys have seen a demo, looked at some proposals, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
So, I don't know if I've read my presentation, but we did have Parker and his team come in and wanted to get everybody that would be impacted or would use the system in the room together. As we got to looking at things, I feel there's a lot of pieces that every department does and we do it manually. Right? And it's very cumbersome. The water department's not here tonight, but I can tell you one of the big things for them when we talked to them was we don't have any way to track our inventory. It was done, and then Braxton has now moved it to an Excel spreadsheet, so he's got to go in and update it every single time they take something out of inventory. So one of the cool features that we would add on, because it's not a current service that we have with Keystone, is the inventory tracking. And I know Sean's team can use it. Actually, we would replace Adam's software, and I kind of broke that out in the presentation as well, because he tracks all inventory and all that good stuff. A separate software that we don't even need to talk about. So I can tell you by moving to the cloud, the efficiencies will be incredible for the team. One of the things that I thought that was super cool is the Katie, when she scans in invoices, it's automatically going to read that invoice, and she's going to only have to maybe plug in a couple little pieces. It's 99% accurate on this read, is that right?
Well, so it's 100% accurate because you're double checking it, but it will give a confidence score of everything that is read through the system. And if it's green, good to go, no other further action. If it's yellow, please double check. If it's red, change it immediately. And I don't want to cut you off here, Leslie, but one important thing is, as we're sitting here talking about the efficiencies that your office is going to gain, the important thing to think about is the efficiency that the public is going to get out of this as well. When it comes to business permits, when it comes to inspections, licenses and all of that, and paying a utility bill, we will have portals for your residents to interact online and do those things from home in a more efficient manner than coming to the office or, bogging people down with other tasks like physically being here. So not only is this something that's going to be important internally, but it's going to look and feel great externally to your residents because now they're going to have options available to them that they did not have before. Specifically when it comes to utility billing and our payment portal, currently with the provider that you guys use today, everything is next day. So somebody can come in and make a payment today, and they can call Leslie and say, hey, I just made my water bill payment for X amount. And Leslie's response is, hey, that's great, but I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow to let you know if that 100% cleared and it's good to go. With our system, that happens in real time. So she will automatically be able to see if that payment has hit and if it's good to go. The other benefit to using us with that is if they set up a bank account or log in through their bank to make a payment, we are hitting that account in real time, so you are not going to have the chargebacks, the NSFs, and the broken payments that you see a lot of times. Even when it comes to, you've had a resident that, put their card in and it just takes money out each month. If that card expires, we are automatically replacing the new number and the expiration date in the back end, so Leslie and her team don't have to do that. And there is no NSF transaction where you're getting charged. That's also a part of our payments is we don't charge for any NSF, PCI, hosting fees, any of those things that typically other vendors do so as well.
So is this really a financial thing, or how does that work with our current electric, water, with automatic, being able to draw some people off?
That system will still stay in place. The analyst will still stay in place. We're not replacing that. This is just the billing side of that part of it. So the readers will still read, we'll still have the analysts to be able to view those reads and be able to go in and shut off and on. But this is actually the billing side. So we have all the reads that will do the payments. Sally will do payroll. We have payroll from Keystone now, but we'll move that over to the cloud. All of these invoicing and payments of claims.
Payroll also comes with an employee self-service portal. So today, if you guys track, CDLs or certifications, I assume everybody gets an electronic pay stub and W-2s and that such, but this will become a repository for your employees to log in and get that stuff and track that stuff themselves instead of, again, putting that burden on, hey, I need, my last 2 pay stubs. Can you please print those out? Now it becomes, or hey, I need last year's W-2. Can I get that? And it now becomes your employees can log on to that portal and help themselves.
So here's the other piece with it. So that I think is cool because, I don't like paper. Everybody will tell you that I don't like paper. Pretty much we can involve paperless with all invoicing. So we can go in, if I get an invoice, I can save it into the system. The department heads will have access to the system. They'll get a notification that says, hey, you have an invoice that needs approved. They'll go in and approve it. It'll come back to me as a final approval before I send it off to you for payment. So we're not going to be, hey, I forgot that back at the MSF building. I'll bring that up to you later. I hate saying it, but we're probably going to see these guys a lot less up in the office because they stop in to drop off bills and out the door they go. So it's going to be a more streamlined process for all of us. And truly, it's going to eliminate, and Terry can probably speak to this, and I don't make a bunch on the spot, but and you can sound with some feedback, but I can tell you we've spent hours since I've been on the phone with Keystone, with issues, and literally hours, and really let a partner, I love working with a partner, but it's become more of a burden to the team because of the fact that more of their clients are moving to the cloud system, right? So they have more support on that side. So for us to get issues resolved, it's always a problem with our firewall. Well, it's become very cumbersome for the team to get things fixed. I can tell you, Heather couldn't receive payments for 3 days, 4 days. Yeah. So that becomes an issue when she's a cashier, right? She's sitting there front facing, oh, you gotta hold on. I can't do this on my computer, so I've got to go somewhere else. I'll be right back. It makes us look really unprofessional, and that's obviously not the front that we want to be for customers.
What kind of percentage people pay online versus check the ways are always out there. Continuously for the people out there, I am I expect I'll pay it online. I write a check. So I watch your ladies do a lot of that. But I was just curious something people actually do. Pay online versus pay to the walk in the building. You see, you got a lot of seniors there.
We still get stacks of bills.
You know how that.
It's a lot, but I can tell you that's one of the pushes that I asked the girls to do. Heather specifically right now is working on a project because Emily's cloud charges $4.95 if you pay online with your checking account. Well, that's free for our office. So I have her reaching out to residents and saying, hey, you're signed up for our outside vendor, come directly to us, and it's not going to be a charge. So we're trying to be more proactive in that regard. And then additionally, hey, we get you set up on paperless billing.
Which they charge for as well. We do not. And that's the seamlessness of being able to just email a bill and forego paper is not only more efficient, but it's going to save you the dollar it takes to send out that letter. And if it gets delivered, we all know how delivery rates are right now in the post office. But I did want to say one thing going back to Keystone. Keystone was coded and created in 1989. So it's been a great product for a long time, but I don't believe that there are many things left operating in any city or town from 1989. Outside of people, no equipment, software, hardware, whatever it may be. But like I was saying, it was a great product, but this is what is going to lead you guys into the future.
So the way that the outward-facing part works digitally, does that automatically connect to our current posted website, or does your portal connect to that, or so when people log into that, go through or maybe turn it over to
So it's going to depend. Depends on how they want to interact. If they go straight to your website, you'll have links to your website. Hey, you want to pay a utility bill here? Click and it'll take you out. Yeah, or hey, you need to get a permit or you need a business license or whatever, it'll take you to the other portal. But if they look straight on their bill, they can just type in that URL.
Okay. So it'll be easy they'll be able to connect A to B.
Yes.
So that's how it is now.
Yeah.
So when you go to the website, it automatically takes you to Invoice Cloud, make your payment.
Did it set up on a user account on that?
Yes, so everybody, when this gets introduced, they will get a bill saying, or not, that it'll be part of their bill, hey, we are now using BSNA software, here's where to log in, this is the PIN number for your account. And they'll log in with that PIN and then go from there.
So it's like a full enterprise system.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
Something I wanted to ask about is the safety and security information from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we host this in Microsoft Azure, and we actually have two different data centers in the United States. We've got one in Virginia and one in Arizona. We have to follow all of Microsoft's compliance and rules and regulations with that. So it is locked down pretty tight. The example that I currently use, you guys are in a little bit of a different circumstance with Terry, because I know Terry's on top of it. But you guys have a server here in this building today, and all of your data is sitting on that server. If someone, for whatever reason, were to click on a bad link, there's protections in place, and it's good. But if someone were to click on a bad link, it wouldn't take much to get into that data, lock you out, and then charge you to get that data back. Most cities and towns in Indiana don't have the level of protections on that server that you guys probably do. Whereas if you follow that same instance, same employee clicks that same link, well, your data is no longer physically here. It is hosted in Microsoft. And so they cannot get to that data because it's not physically here. So, but it follows ISO, SOC, all of those things.
The other key piece that we don't have right now is code enforcement. So Scott's doing everything on his own computer in Excel and Word, right, Gary? So with the soft, and this is another add-on piece, but it all flows together, okay? So we're bringing together, talked about it, which we're bringing everything together. This is going to be easy for him to go in, put in his pictures, we have a place to store them so everybody can see that information. So if we don't know about it, and Gary's not in, and, you know, we can at least look to say, oh, well, it looks like there was this is the issue. We're going to be able to better help if we're moving all the way around. Again, the efficiencies, we haven't quite figured out backfilling the gaps, but I know that we started, like, kind of knowing that this was my intention, was going to backfill gaps position, with helping Chip with the kitchen, and just finding those niches. I have a couple of other ideas for money savings, but I don't want to say them loud yet, because the team doesn't know about it. But just making sure that we're taking the right steps to put a system in place that's going to work for all of us. And it's going to be a system that we're going to have for years. And so, but my ask is, in the quote, there are a couple of pieces. We decided that we did not need the human resource piece. I know that Beth was looking at something to the side anyways, and the business licensing, because that's done at the county. But everything else in the quote, I would ask for approval on. If we make the decision before the end of the month, we are not going to have to pay the $87,110 of the migration fee, so Voices, BSNA is waiving that fee. But again, I can tell you, in talking to other clerk treasurers around the state, this is the best thing that they've done for their offices and for their residents, and so boost the file.
And just as far as statistics of other people in the state, we started selling this last year. We got 20 people live last year alone, and then probably another 10 to 15 live this year. So we're probably looking at 35 people live, but well over 100 that have signed up to move. So we're trying to go as quickly as we can to get those people installed. I will also call out, as you guys are looking at the numbers there, when it comes to training and implementation, that last line item budget, you control the costs in implementation and training. It is billed for at the very end, and it is billed for what you use. So just because we give you all of those days listed doesn't mean you have to use them all. And actually, Leslie and her team can get out ahead of that. And as soon as I know you guys are moving forward and going to sign a contract, I can send you over to our training site, and they can start training as soon as that contract is going over our virtual training. And then about 2 weeks before you go live, we will release a pre-go live environment to you. And the more that you use that and get familiar with it, and our trainers can step in, and you're familiar, the more easy it is to be able to cut days out on training.
What's the transition period? 3 months, 6 months?
So typically, yeah.
Over a year out.
Okay, I mean, just all the data, I can only imagine
Yeah.
how long it takes to just back up all the data.
Yeah, so typically somebody of your size, it would be a 4 to 6 month implementation, but we have run into backlog, and we're scheduling about a year out now.
So the total covers the 2 or 6, 15,
Correct.
and the 3 payments,
We're going to take a couple of those.
Well, yeah, there's some things that will be removed from this.
$197,910. That includes all the fees, and the annual fees. And because we pay in our renewals in September, so we'll pay that renewal. Anything that's still left, they're going to prorate that, and that'll go towards this new software system.
What I just heard was that 67,000 of that, if you will, is handed up to us when it comes to the training. So it's probably not to exceed 197, 110 is what I believe you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
For 3 years.
It is so our contract terms are their evergreen contracts, just because if we get into a situation like this and you don't accept or you deny or whatever, and you could be without the system, so it renews every year, but you've got a 90-day, I think it's 90-day window every year to cancel if you decide you don't want to move forward. And also as a part of that, your data is your data, and it is our responsibility to get that back to you in a meaningful way. So if,
So it's basically, let's say a one-time, if you will, for 197, and then yearly, it's yearly the 33, or is yearly going to be?
Yearly's gonna be the
90 and some,
65 plus the
30.
30, so
Three.
minus
Just, recap, the data stays here, it's not out of anywhere.
It does not stay here. It's hosted in Microsoft, but you own your data
You own the data, but it's housed in, you said Arizona?
in Virginia,
In Virginia, under Microsoft.
Azure.
I've been a part of our GIS thing, and I ran across a lot of good things about COVID.
Yeah.
Protect our data.
Yep, nope, absolutely. That it is explicitly stated in our contract, your data is your data.
Hey Leslie, can you remind us, and I'm trying to flip through it here, I'm trying to locate it, what the annual savings was compared to what we're currently spending?
Well, there's not a savings what we're currently spending, it's more, so if we look at the figures, we're at the new package annually would be $91,320.
Okay.
And right now,
You're just around 20,000.
21, I think.
Yeah.
But I did kind of put in, like, Atom Systems, $4,800.
Okay, that must be the
Yeah, so Atom Systems 48, and then we'll have some savings on the server end. I tried to track some other known savings because we're not going to choose any longer. I'm actually going to get rid of my printer because I'm not going to need it. And if I do, I can walk into another printer. But again, I tried to backfill that too with the extra savings that I showed from 25, 26, and what we over 27. So what we've been able to save just in known costs, right, at the moment, and those were just our numbers, will offset the difference.
Okay, well, I think that's what I was looking at, because I saw those numbers.
It would also affect your collections, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we think about it, I think to answer your question a little bit more, I think when you look at or think about the total operations of Leslie's office, we're talking about a step change. Like it's going to be 9 days from what they currently do, and you know, you probably saw the notes from some of her staff members and stuff, but I mean, there has not been a week, no offense, there's not been a week that has gone by that I've not came down there to the office and heard that there's not an issue with people. So, but again, a product that was made about 5 years after I was born. Back in Andrew 50. You know, but in all seriousness, I know that there's been a lot of work done by Leslie and by Terry and by Sally and by lots of individuals, department heads as well, of trying to figure out how do we become more nimble as government, number one, and number two, make sure that we are protecting our citizens and our customers, but we're really moving into the current century.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Pay online and set up your billing and see what's on the that's something I've actually done a lot of years.
Yes.
Yeah, I just remember when I was reading through this, that you had tabulated some safety different things and everything. So that's what I was doing.
Just trying to help show that we're doing what we can.
Yeah.
Because we know that, I don't think this is a big ask, but it's a necessary ask, in my opinion.
But I think if you speak with those people in the organization, they'll say that Leslie is something that she's used.
Well, so our company, we did a transition like this about 4 years ago. We went to a full enterprise, cloud-based, on-site server system. And it totally revolutionized how we got things done, efficiently and effectively. So I'm in favor. I was just because there is an expense to that.
So are you replacing
have to give, Parker a yes or no before the end of the month, otherwise if we do wait, then we're gonna have the migration fees, and who knows what that's gonna be like, if we keep pushing this down the road. So, yes, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving forward and the further, whatever, our union.
So is that a motion to approve a not to exceed number of $197,910 for the migration to the new system?
Yes.
Okay, I hear a motion, do I have a second? A motion second for the discussion. All those in favor, show the usual sign, it is unanimous for those questions.
I will get those located and send you a contract. Thank you guys, I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to continue on with the CF1 for basically what I'm going to call the Verizon Plaza.
Yes.
So that is for BR Real Estate LLC, and they are, again, that's been going since 2018, so they have, I think, just a couple of years left on that tax abatement. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Dale said he couldn't be here tonight, but we'd be happy to take questions, but again, the numbers can speak for themselves.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay.
I'm moving it.
Find them in compliance to grant an additional year of abatement?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Tad, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show the usual sign. It is unanimous. Next up is ordinance 2026-12. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to read by title only? Motion by Dan, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It's unanimous. Please read ordinance 2026-12 by title only.
Ordinance number 2026-12, ordinance authorizing the payment of certain claims prior to the Board of Ohio State.
So this is what was in front of you last time. It's adjustments that Leslie is suggesting based on her clerk's conference and the state laws and things to that effect. Any questions, comments, concerns about this? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2026-12 on second and final reading? Second. Motion by Jennifer, second by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show the usual sign. It's unanimous of those present. Okay. Comprehensive plan discussion. Matt.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. It's great to be here in the city of Columbia City to talk to a lot of you folks again. We're probably seeing this presentation more than once, so I'll keep it brief this evening just so that we can get a good overview of the process and where we're at. But here we are. It's always a bittersweet moment for me, kind of at the end of the process. We come into communities. We're here for a year, get to eat a lot of local restaurants and meet a lot of folks in these efforts. So it's always great to have a complete plan, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be here as much. So it's kind of sad for us. But we've had a great time working on this project. We're really happy to be here. Really happy to kind of go through very high level. As the previous presentation said, I cut about 20 slides out of this, so we keep it short. So we're only going over 140 pages out of the 160 that are in the plan. So just a little light. With that, my name is Matthew O'Rourke. For those I haven't had a whole lot of time to interact with yet through this process, I am the Planning and Economic Development Director with a company named American Structure Point. So I run all of our urban planning, zoning assistance, landscape architecture functions. And then the gentleman you see on the screen there, who I regret to say kind of left us right at the end of the process, but he was a major part of this, a major part of the work, and then he decided I'm going to go live in Italy for 90 days. So boo-hoo for him. He did do a lot of the work, so I at least wanted to have his face up there tonight, so he did a great job. Quick agenda, we're just going to go through the plan structure, the future land use map, so it's sort of the major milestones of how this plan came together, and then what are the bigger pieces in there. With that, just to say a comprehensive plan, and I think here in Columbia City, it really means something. It's a vision document for the next 20 years per se. That's our mindset when we draft these. But the idea really is, what are we doing now to help get to that vision? And when we looked at the previous plan, that one was implemented. A lot of those items got checked off the box. And so when we got into this process, we said we want to go through and get a really good update, but we want to make sure we stick with what's working and how things did get implemented. So that was a big focus for us as we went through that. And so we don't do this in a vacuum. I'm not going to go through all the engagement summaries, but we definitely went to a lot of meetings. We did a survey. We had about 850 responses, just a little under. Went to had steering committee meetings with a group of local experts that were really helping us inform this plan, telling us what we're getting right, telling us what we're getting wrong. I can attest to the fact this steering committee, if they didn't like something, they let us know. And that's what we want out of this process. In particular, the board over there, the future land use map, we went through that a few times to make sure it represents what the city of Columbia City wants. It's not about us and being experts, quote unquote. I always love to say, we're just here to help articulate your vision, but it's your vision. We're just here to help assist with that. So that was a great part of this process. Really great, we had great attendance at those. It seemed like we had full attendance or near full attendance at every one. I love seeing that. So it just shows me how engaged and how active everybody was in the process. So in the front end, we go through a lot of engagement. We talk to the community. We have those initial steering committee meetings. Just a couple of examples of the sort of data we get out of that is, what do you like most about living in Columbia City? What are some amenities and features that make it a good place to live? We want to capture the good things, not just what the challenges are, because that all forms our 20-year vision. And so here's just a couple of examples of those questions we asked on the survey. We were also out in the community, coming to events with boards, not dissimilar from ones here, except a little more interactive. I like this one. We call it our budget bucks exercise. We give people what I like to say is $1,000 of my money. It's my money because I cut it out myself, because it's monopoly at the end of the day. But they get to kind of pretend they're in your shoes for a minute and say, not everything is free. Where do we want to prioritize spending? And so what we see, and when we get to our strategy phase, it's all a result of all that. We summarize this. One of the first things we do is we break all this down. A lot of data, a lot of information all comes through in this existing conditions report that all feeds the recommendations that are really the bulk of the plan. And so what that looks like, there's a couple of things about this on this slide I wanted to highlight. One is we changed the visual look to update it, but when you look at the table of contents that I've highlighted there, we've kept the original structure of the current 2015 plan, which was organized around people, places, and things. Those were the categories that rolled out of that effort from 2015, and we heard through our engagement process a lot of those same themes, and we wanted this to be an update, and so we just kind of kept that structure, and that was intentional because of all the great work that was done with it. So all of the strategies, all the accomplishments, all the things that we pointed out they all fit into this people, places, things structure, which has really worked well for Columbia City. So just kind of skipping along a little bit. I mentioned the visuals. Here you can kind of see what the old plan looked like. The current one, very similar, but if you dig into it a little more, each chapter has a couple of pieces we did add. What we've updated in our processes, we like to add what we've heard and what we've learned in each section. And that basically, what we heard is what we out in the community heard, what we learned is through the data. So these strategies you see on these boards here, they're really tied to data and things we've heard. It's not just us pulling them out of thin air. So we like to recap that. And so that was a little bit of a difference from the current plan to the new one, or an enhancement, as we like to call it. I mentioned this earlier, and it's on these boards off to my left. A lot from the previous plan was accomplished. There's a lot of goals that were checked off the list. So we said we want to honor that. We want to showcase that. We want everybody to know, hey, this plan did not sit on the shelf. It got implemented, and it was working, which is one of the reasons we preserved that structure. So we've highlighted that in there, and we've basically talked about here's all these great goals that were already achieved. Now we're building off of those in a lot of cases. One of the bigger ones was we wanted to update future land use. We'll get into that in a little bit. But basically in the places chapter, we've added the new land use map. We've included more explanation on future land use categories. So when you look at the strategies, they're tied specifically back to that map. And they're showcased there with what we heard, what we learned. But you see here we have a goal statement. We want to promote safe, quality nature with varying styles and densities. We've now put that into a future land use map to help with the current plan does have one. We took it a little bit further in terms of the detail and really extending it past the city's current boundaries. It's not an ETJ. It's not intended to be that. It's what we call a planning area. But as US 30 changes, as that the state implements its plans there, we did want to have a little bit broader brush in terms of how much area we looked at. And what you see there, all that kind of lighter green color, that's all ag land. So it's not like we propose massive changes there. We just wanted to have some direction should any activity happen further outside the city's boundaries. The other thing you notice, and this is pretty typical, land use map has these colors. Those are intended to show different land uses, but I want to highlight that's not zoning. This map is just used to help inform decisions and inform policies, but nothing on that map means anybody's current zoning is changes. This is only if and when somebody does want to change the zoning, the Plan Commission and you folks have some direction to say, yes, the community did agree, for instance, in those red colors, this is where we'd like to see more commercial development, retail offices, those sorts of things. I won't go through all these, but they resulted in pretty much a very similar amount. We added a couple. One of those I'll highlight on the next slide. But everything from agricultural to low density, what we call single family development, where we think apartments would go, that's kind of that mixed density retirement community, local business, downtown, preserving what's here, preserving what was great about the 2015 plan, and really just adding to it or augmenting it as things have changed in the last 10 years. One thing that is new that was not in the 2015 plan is each one of those bullet points I mentioned on the previous slide now has what we call a character class description. So in addition to just saying, hey, this is where we think medium density residential should go in this case, it's on the map. We've actually added some overview unit recommendations, so primary, secondary uses, densities, building heights, things like that, so that you're not just thinking about where a land use goes, you're thinking about what it looks like. I like to describe this as if you're driving down the street, an urban neighborhood feels a little different than an agricultural neighborhood, where the buildings are located, how tall they are, how spread out they are. That's kind of what we're trying to achieve with this text. So everybody has a good idea of what you go there. It doesn't mean, like, if somebody came in for a development proposal, it has to conform to this, but we're trying to provide just that general recommendation towards that.
I think that's, if you think about what we had on Main Street recently, of like looking at the actual character of the neighborhood instead of saying this zone says R1 or R2 or R3. Instead, what is the character of the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
And so I think the additional context, I think, does help both the planning commission as well as the council kind of make those decisions.
Yep, good. Said it better than me. I should have just turned the slide over to you. So we have land use recommendations, we have people, places, things, and with each one the strategies. What we like to do as a firm is go a little further than that. What we call our implementation section is critical path strategies. And this is an exercise we did with our steering committee where we sort of put all the goals that came out of the plan, and there's usually 40 to 50 in all those different pieces. We pull out the 10 to 15 we think are the ones we want to implement now. These are the ones we really think we should get going on 5 years or less. So we voted on those, we put them in there, and then we don't just restate them in a table or kind of just say, do this in the next 5 years. We like to provide very specific action items. This is kind of a chronological, do this in this order, step-by-step way to implement, in this case, critical path strategy number 4, which is to create a citywide gateway plan. And so there's the steps, here's the way we would suggest you go about it. Partner agencies, budget items, timeline, it's really intended to be get this going, get it in action. One of my senior planners uses an analogy I like to steal at this point where we like to get to the end of this process and kind of think of it as you got a car parked on a downhill slope. All you got to do is release the parking brake and it'll start rolling on its own. You don't even have to give it any more gas. That's what this whole process boils down to. Here's how we get to these implementation steps. I mentioned there's a number of these. There's 11 in this plan. I won't go into that much detail as I did on the previous slide here, but the ones that did bubble up to the surface that are this plan's implementation schedule is we want to encourage neighborhood beautification through projects and partnering with the Redevelopment Commission, Tree Board, other agencies. This could be landscaping, this could be murals. There's a lot of ways to implement this, working with the arts group and other folks to implement that. That was one that really became top of the line for a lot of folks. We want to, here you go, Chip. There's a second mention of the test kitchen. Oh, of course. I couldn't see behind it. Two test kitchen mentions tonight. But that was a really great facility, and we talked a lot about entrepreneurial efforts and getting more restaurants in town. So we wanted to make sure we had something in here, and that's such a great facility to emphasize and double down on that effort. We want to explore and identify sidewalks. We heard a lot about connectivity gaps, places where not all the sidewalks are in the best shape or they don't exist. So that's one, create a citywide gateway plan. That was on the previous slide. We want to coordinate, clean up brownfield sites. As those are either known or get identified, there is grant money out there, so let's figure out how to do that and get those sites back into active, basically make them active again. It's a big part of something the state's trying to accomplish right now. I want to work with the Columbia City Arts Commission to build programming focused on public art. I know some of this is going on. The few examples we came up with are ideas here is to turn this into a revolving art downtown, for instance, where there's new exhibits, there's new statues. Artists can just basically plot these on designated areas for a season and then sell them, take them to somewhere else, that kind of thing. We like these programs to start thinking of themselves as a little evergreen because it gives you a chance or a reason to come back every year and see the new set of sculptures. Rounding out the critical path strategies, we want to promote and encourage medium density housing and single family housing. We've heard this a lot, just the need for all housing types, for kids that maybe go to college and want to come back, for folks that are maybe retiring and on fixed incomes, and pretty much everything in between. So this whole goal is about creating opportunities to make that happen. With what's going on in US 30, we talked about creating an overlay district. So this would be something you put in your zoning code that has extra standards in terms of aesthetics, landscaping. One that we're really concerned about with just setback requirements in general, making sure there's enough room for those improvements to go in. So as the US 30, the Indiana studies get more and more defined, we want to accommodate for that. That's a big one. We want to implement the downtown revitalization plan by partnering with Okra and the Main Street groups to keep looking for funding to do that. The downtown plan was completed before this effort, so we wanted to tie to that and come up with ways to help fund some of those strategies. We want to highlight the region's rich tourism capacity by partnering with folks out in the county and the visitor center to say, hey, let's look at some of those cool things. We talked about the test kitchen earlier. Is there a way to tie that to farm to table? Is there a way to tie agricultural tourism and agribusiness to what's going on here in the city itself? And finally, we want to create a gateway commercial district along SR9 between Spencer Street and East Chicago. Just part of that gateway signage, part of just brand recognition, part of showcasing, hey, we're here. We are Columbia City. So we want you to know that when you come through town and say, oh, that's a cool place, and then you come back. So with that, I'll kind of just see if there's any other comments, questions, anything that came up, or any questions about the process, for instance, anything else I can answer.
I guess the other thing that I really want to say is that I'm excited that it's to this point finally. I know when I was new to council, there's no critical having comprehensive laws and how we use it as instruction manual in a lot of decisions over the past 10, 11 years. So, I think it's some future administrations in a good way by providing a framework that this is what we realize that we need to do. It's going to have a responsible to do for a community. It's a lot of thought, it's a lot of work, but it's such an advantage to have that for like the show and use it as a filter for the community.
And I'm really proud of the boards over there that say goals accomplished in 2015 and I know that it's not necessarily all-encompassing, but it does hit on a lot of the things that, we're not just learning through, but also media and high-fruit, if you will. And
It was very exciting to watch those things get
tick off the list, if you will, right? And so with this being a plan update, the nice thing is a part of this process was we went through and we said, okay, do we want to keep this plan? Do we not? Do we want to keep this item? Do we not? Do we want to keep this strategy? Do we not? And so some of those strategies got morphed. Some of those strategies stayed, and some of those strategies were like, well, that was good in 2015, but in 2026, it's just not where we're at anymore. And so I do really like the fact that this is an update that builds on the success. It builds on the plans that we have, or had, if you will, for Columbia City going into the future. Yep.
Yeah. I can attest to that for the mayor personally. I've seen it.
Remember there was a time too where we didn't have quite enough of them, so we had one and they were like
gold, they're gold, yes. Go ahead.
I would say the good news there is I've negotiated really hard with Nathan. We're going to turn over all the electric files so you guys can print new ones as needed. It was a very hard negotiation. He really worked hard. I'll tell you.
Yes. Any other questions for Matt? If not, I'll bring Nathan up to chat from the planning commission perspective. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So from a procedural standpoint, tonight you've got a resolution before you. The plans are not adopted by ordinance, so hopefully you can just adopt this resolution and we can put this to work.
Do you want to talk about the planning commission's review and the thoughts that they have?
It kind of goes without saying, they send this to you with a favorable recommendation. They have the option to send it to you without a recommendation, but that's pretty rare. They do not have an option to send it to you with an unfavorable recommendation, like they do with rezonings, because why would they? But anyway, back to the point, it does come to you with favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission from last week's meeting. Again, similar comments were made last week from the Planning Commission members. We didn't hold the public hearing, didn't have any members of the public talk, or even in attendance. Didn't really have any comments, additional comments, once we opened it up for the public review draft. So, if you do have any last-minute changes, typos, or anything, let us know. It would be your last chance to make those final fixes.
The planning commission absolutely in favor of this. Presentation last week, we were all pretty excited about the future. What's good possibility? The rest of the we were all pretty excited about how this was put together with the process that they were getting after it after the start that we really rushed it. And they put everything together with wording it through the project development. Thank you. I just do with that. I work with you guys for it. Thank you.
I like the format, as I was reading through it, just kind of like, here's where we've been, here's where we're going. I appreciate that. I can just add, that's not articulate when we end up writing the template. It's so self-evident. Yeah, when we got into the process, we wanted to make sure we got around to it.
Yeah, there were some things that we took this opportunity that we knew were, well, for example, the class descriptions. That was something that, as we went through rezonings, we kind of struggled with the Planning Commission to say, well, what exactly does medium density mean? So now we have a better understanding of what that should look like. So there are other things that we're also feeling like there were omissions that we added in some additional clarifications. So it's not just a pure update in that way either.
I would note to myself, maybe just to ask, for like the overlay district, which is one of the critical path strategies, is that something that starts in the planning commission, or does that start here in the council?
There are many ways that you can deal with it. Overlays as a zoning matter, you can start with the council and then hand it off to the planning commission, and then it comes back to you. You can do an overlay. It would be a little odd to do it in a non-zoning fashion, but in theory you could. But most typically it would be planning commission involvement, and most of the heavy lifting would be with them.
Any other questions for Nathan or Matt? Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Do I have a motion to read resolution 2026-15 by title only? Motion by Jennifer, second by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It's unanimous. Mr. President, please read resolution 2026-15 by title only.
Resolution 2026-15, resolution amending comprehensive school district.
Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the resolution or the adoption, if you will, of the comprehensive plan update? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2026-15 on first and final reading? Motion by Jennifer, second by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. Sorry I'm reading everything so fast out. I know I'm going to get yelled at for that later, so. Do I have a motion to read ordinance 2026-14 by title only? Motion by Tad, second by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Please read ordinance 2026-14 by title only.
Ordinance 2026-14, ordinance proceeding to resolution 2 of Title V of the ordinances of the city of Chip is.
Oh, Chip's got
Sorry, this is Globe. So, well, I think our water superintendent should probably speak to it.
Yeah.
It's not weird about it. So what this ordinance does is gives the water department the right to actually go onto somebody's property and pothole and inspect to see if there is lead lines, and then go in and replace lead lines. It just gives them, we are running against some people that are not allowing us on their property or in their house, so this just gives us the ability. Correct.
And the rationale behind that has to do with the fact that we're being mandated by the federal and state governments to address this. It's not something that we can say, oh, we're doing this for funsies. No, we're mandated. We don't have a choice.
And this is an EPA ordinance that they passed down, so it's not something we just came up with. It's being spread throughout the country.
I assume that's been shared with whoever is not allowing.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
This is what we're going through trying to get federal funding, and there's different steps. This is just one of the 50 steps that we have to cross out to get the federal funding. So hopefully we get through them all here soon.
I know it's not fun, but again, it's a mandate, and
It's literally just going in, popping up in their access to their.
well, but we could also pothole, meaning that suck some dirt out to find out what their actual line is. Now, again, I want to reiterate, like, we try to work with the homeowner first and foremost.
Yes,
yeah.
Just to do it. If this is for those that are obstinate and say we can't go on their property, well, we kind of have to. I'm mandated by the feds to do this. No, I don't think that's actually included in there.
It's just
Put a hole there, we
It
put a hole back in.
It's not into that itself.
no.
It could be though that we're going into the garage.
Yeah.
But again, they would be notified of that.
Yes, we're not. Yeah, we
We're
don't
not
have
like running right door
to
and going in to find their water line material. Just to be real clear, guys. So,
Very good.
any questions? I'm sure you don't have any questions. Ordinance 2000, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2026-14 on first reading?
So moved.
Motion by Tad, second by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show with the usual sign. It is unanimous. Those present will move to second reading at the next meeting. The next two things on the agenda are the next two, the amphitheater stuff. We are tabling till the next meeting. Marcia and Chip and I had a great conversation with Lisa Lee, our bond attorney at Ice Miller today, and there's some things we need to make sure that we have squared away. Honestly, we probably could have passed it tonight, but I didn't feel super comfortable, and Marcia will be here at the next meeting, so if you have questions about it, she can answer those for you. So, nevertheless, let's go to department reports. Please keep them brief. Nathan.
That would be under strategic occupancy day, so there's no urgency, and they were aiming for Memorial Day, so it's so great. Planning Commission also at last week's meeting approved the primary plat for new apartments up near Countryside. That's the first of several things they have to do, but that is the ball rolling. Last weekend, I led historic tours in downtown, which was attended by about 25 people or so. I want to give a shout out to Smith & Sons, who were gracious enough to give a tour of their former Peabody home as well. I've never looked at it on the inside from an architectural standpoint, so that was really cool of them. Got a lot of kudos feedback as well. So.
Questions? Nathan. Thank you. Chip.
I've just been working on trying to get the amphitheater going around and liquidating the jail. Other than
you, Matt.
We get ready for Memorial Day, and we have about a 50-team tournament coming in next weekend, so that's the time to try to get busier.
Where's the Matt? Thank you, Sean.
Making preparations for the high school CTE building. Just still working on changing poles and a couple big meetings last week. More to do the past week.
Where's the Sean? Thank you, Sean. Gary.
Also, block revision started in that deal as well. So, and everyone good. First Friday farmers market went very smooth after minor issues. They wanted it back at the 9th Street. It's been home, so work on that issue. Lintex traffic was approved by Public Safety Medical, and we have a big guy at the battle from Mary to start. Alex Myers. Doing well, doing good operation common well.
Question for Gary. Thank you. Mike.
At a meeting with the board members, items staff today regarding ammonia. Got a few ideas, additional things to tips for them to try there, and then we have a new meeting about the need to update, make updates on their progress, and update them with what we've done and what I have. Our new hire starts the 18th, and that changed out a very large and heavy balance today.
Question, Mike. Thank you. Terry. Question, Terry. Thank you, Aaron.
We just had some good presentations and talk about the rooms of government, prepare for the bus permit, and for applicants to be able to put in about $240 to pay.
Question, Aaron. Thank you. Leslie.
One of these gave favorable approval on moving forward with US Bank for the bond, fire truck, so I just really, no, we got it. So, need a motion, if you were to, for me to be able to move forward with US Bank.
If you look on your, I know you're already, but, under the US Bank basically this gives the ability to finance, as you well know, Leslie, we're working on financing the fire truck long term here. And she went and got multiple basically quotes, if you will. Board of Works agreed with Leslie to pass on the recommendation of going with US Bank for the financing of the fire truck. And so